everyone, it's Pastor Ben. I hope you're having a great Monday morning. If you missed yesterday's sermon on Sunday, just a quick update. Because the governor has extended the state of emergency and all bans on mass gatherings through April 7th, we are also going to be canceling service for April 5th. So we'll be providing the sermon online just like we have the last 2 weeks, and you can still go through a service together with your family with that, but we are going to be canceling our service on April 5th. We'll keep you updated about Easter, and we'll let you know as we get more information and we make a final decision. And as soon as we make that decision, we'll let you know about what that would look like. But fingers crossed, hopefully we can get together, but we'll just keep an eye on that situation for now. The second update I'd like to give you is I'm actually in Alta right now. This video is a lie. I'm kidding. But I did record this video back on Friday. I didn't actually record it today, Monday. I recorded this video back on Friday because I am actually in Des Moines visiting my family. So we've been spending the last 2 weeks all self-isolating so that we could all with confidence say we're not sick and gather safely, because my sister just gave birth to a girl last Tuesday. So I have a niece now. I've never had a niece before, so that's really exciting. So I'll be coming up today back from Des Moines this afternoon to be back in Alta from that visit, but that's where I'm doing right now. Just a fun little update there. We're going to continue our study through Philippians 2 here. So if you want to turn to your Bibles, Philippians 2, we're going to start in verse 12. And we're just going to go through these next two verses. I think these verses are powerful. There's a nice, good thought to get from them. I would encourage you to meditate on them. I have them underlined. And then we'll continue with verses 14 through 18 tomorrow, on Wednesday. We're going to start doing these series on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday so that I can spend Tuesday and Thursday doing calls and other kinds of sermon prep things that I've kind of let go by the wayside in order to figure out how to do these videos these last couple weeks. But on Wednesday, we'll pick up on verse 14. But for now, let's start in verse 12. Therefore, my dear friends, as you have always obeyed, not only in my presence, but now much more in my absence, continue to work out your salvation with fear and trembling. For it is God who works in you to will and to act in order to fulfill his good purpose. Therefore, so because of having this attitude like Christ, this attitude of making ourselves nothing in order for God to elevate us, to be the one who fights for us, who brings us glory, so that we in turn actually give him the glory. Because of all that, as you have obeyed, so the Philippian church, they actually are pretty good at this. This isn't something that Paul is telling them to start doing. The Philippians are already a good example of this kind of attitude and this kind of behavior. And they don't just exhibit this behavior when Paul is there. They've been exhibiting this behavior in his absence as well. And so Paul exhorts them to continue to work out your salvation with fear and trembling. What does it mean to work out your salvation with fear and trembling? Well, I know it doesn't mean working and having behaviors and performing deeds that will hopefully earn your salvation because you're afraid of losing it or having not earned it yet. In fact, I would say working out your salvation is kind of just that. You're working out of your salvation. And that can be a frightening thing to do. It's something that we don't do very often. But let me ask you this question. When was the last time that you did something because you remembered you were saved by Christ? When was the last time a conscious memory of your salvation was the motive for one of your actions? When was the last time you said, "Oh, I'm saved by Christ. I should do this thing because I'm saved by Christ"? We can go our entire day without ever really thinking about the fact that we are saved by Christ, without ever allowing that truth to guide our actions. And when we do allow that truth to guide our actions, we'll often do things that are bizarre or awkward or weird, but also incredibly Christ-like, incredibly humbling, incredibly compassionate. And so there's a fear and trembling that takes place when we decide, I'm not going to work out of my selfish ambition. I'm not going to do my works because of what comes naturally to me. I'm going to work because I'm actually saved by Christ. And Paul writes that when we act in that way, it is God actually at work who is willing us to act in that way to fulfill his own good purposes. And so that's my question to you is what does your salvation mean to you? What does that look like? And how does that motivate your behavior? When was the last time you had a behavior, you performed a deed, you gave someone a good turn because you were saved by Christ? Maybe it happened recently. Maybe it hasn't happened in a while, if ever. I would encourage you to consider your salvation, the truth of your salvation, and allow that to be your primary motive for your behaviors during this day. And if you allow that to be your primary motive for your behavior, then your behavior is going to be different than it has ever been before. And that might be scary and weird to some people, but it is also going to be in accordance with God's will. And when we allow our salvation to be the motive behind our behavior, then our behavior will be working for God's purposes. Now, I may try to do a lot of good things, and I might have good reasons for doing them. But if salvation isn't my motive, then I may not necessarily be accomplishing God's purposes. But when I consider God's salvation, the truth of His salvation, what Jesus Christ did for me on the cross, when that is a constant thought in the front of my mind and it's on the tip of my tongue, then my behavior changes, and it changes in accordance with God's will. So in your quiet time, during your prayer, I would encourage you to consider how God's salvation can motivate your behavior, what your behavior would need to look like if it was motivated by salvation, and how you can enact that kind of behavior today with your family. I hope you have a great Monday. I hope you have a great rest of the week. I will see you Wednesday.